Hello, welcome to today's live YouTube chart readings. Let's see, 1 second. I feel like this is making it really bright. My name is Anastasia. If you're new here, I am a traditional Western astrologer. I do readings. I am also teaching. I have just started teaching my course on September 6th. For those of you who want to join and feel like you missed it, you still can sign up until September 13th, Saturday. You will have to catch up on one class. After that, the enrollment will be officially closed, because after that, I feel like there's too much to catch up on. So for those of you who are interested in joining, you can register for my course on my website. Today, we're doing live mini readings for people. These are donation based. They are pay what you can. My suggested amount is $25 if you'd like me to answer your question. Hi, Jess. Oh, Jess. Yes, I have your chart. You are ready to go. So we can definitely start with you. Just for anyone who is joining, the way this works is I do ask for a donation. Again, the suggested amount is $25, but pay what you can based on how comfortable you are, how generous you feel, anything like that. The payment links are in the description and in the pinned comment. Once you do submit the payment and get on my list, I do ask for your birthday, time, and place so I can pull up the chart. And you can either share it in the chat if you don't mind it being public. If you want it to be private, email it to me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. For anyone who's watching who wants a full-sized 1 hour long, 30-minute long, 90-minute long reading, you can find all of those on my website, anastasia.astrology.com. You can also join my course on there. It started on Saturday, but if you sign up now, you only miss one class and you can catch up by watching a recording. So if you're craving more astrology, you're ready to invest into your future, join us. It's a 3 months long course, so missing one lesson doesn't necessarily take away from it. Okay, so Jess is the first one on my list. Let me share her chart. Just make sure I have it pulled up. And she said that she doesn't mind it being public. So we are going to share it. Hi, Rajesh. Let me know where you guys are watching from. It's always fun to see. I did a live when I was in France, and most people watching were from Europe, I think. A little bit from the States, but it was kind of in the middle of the day. Okay. So Jessica is first. So just confirm. I have Virgo sun. Happy birthday. Sagittarius moon, Gemini rising. Is this you? Is this correct? Okay, it is correct. So Jess's question was connected to career. Let me pull it up specifically. So the question is about career. She has been working in retail for over 5 years, but would like to leave her job to become a flight dispatcher, which is someone who creates flight plans. She's saying, I want to attend a school in Dallas, Texas, which means I'd have to leave my hometown for 5 weeks to attend and get the certification. I think I should just go for it, even though it's going to cost me, paraphrasing a little bit, and commit to doing something different, to meet and form new relationships and just jumpstart a new career just to get me out of retail work. If everything goes as planned, I will leave for Dallas, Texas, which is actually where my Jupiter MC line runs through, which is awesome, in January, finish up around February, which is when the eclipse happens in your 9th house of education, travel. So it couldn't be a better timing. And hopefully find a job by the end of March. I know Saturn has retrograded back into Pisces, so I feel like this is the time where I'm meant to get serious about starting something new career-wise. So, Jess, have you been feeling so when Saturn first went into Pisces, your 10th house in March 2023, was there any significant change and maybe desire to find new work already around that time? So, you just turned 28. 28 is the fifth house year. You have a very strong ruler of your fifth house, which is Venus in Libra. And I think the fact that you're turning 28, you're entering the annual perfection of the fifth house suggests that the question of pleasure, the question of doing things that are meaningful and working towards your purpose becomes really, really important. And here we also might sort of look at 12 years ago, if you remember being 16, if you remember being 16 as definite as something like maybe you've discovered new passions, maybe you've taken up dancing or painting or anything like that. You're saying it was definitely a desire to move on. Back in March 2023, I started to feel weighed down by my job. Right. Okay. So 28 highlights the fifth house, desire to enjoy life. Venus rules your fifth house of children, pleasure, romance. She also rules your 12th house of faraway places and being kind of alone and getting out of your comfort zone. So, what you're saying, right, leaving hometown and making new connections and feeling like a fish out of the water on some level, but also potentially enjoying yourself, I think is activated by you turning 28. And then what I mentioned with the eclipses, so right now we have South Node in Virgo, which is your nodal opposition actually, but you're born with North Node in Virgo, which means natally you're actually leaning more towards creating comfort and security and maybe building a family and spending more time with people you love. But since it's your nodal reversal, which always happens right around Saturn return, temporarily you're in a place that is opposite to what you're karmically trying to accomplish in this lifetime. With North Node being in Pisces right now, you're actually encouraged to go out into the world and to maybe spend a little less time tied down to your hometown, homeland, home people. And with Saturn being back in Pisces, correct, and with North Node being in Pisces, there are a lot of like really strong kind of questions around purpose and calling. And even generally, you being born with Saturn in Aries in the 11th house, Saturn in the 11th house is more than just about you. There's like a sense of responsibility for a community of people, right? Saturn in the 11th is there is this you are more than other people. You're someone who are meant to like tell us what are we all doing, right? Because 11th house is the house of community and Saturn feels responsible for the community. Saturn feels responsible to give others a purpose. And so what you're thinking of doing, being a flight what did you say, flight dispatcher, right? Someone who creates flight plans. So you don't just want to be like a flight attendant, you want to be someone who creates flight plans. So that's like very Saturn, and then Jupiter, and even having your midheaven be in the ninth house, it suggests that you're meant to explore different careers. You're meant to have a job that involves travel, that involves learning, like a job that constantly teaches you something, or work that is constantly being upgraded. Jupiter in Aquarius, midheaven in Aquarius, right? Also, this kind of like scientific revolutionary approach, I think. Jupiter would want to teach and guide other people. So being a flight dispatcher makes sense, I think, to like telling people what to do. And Uranus will be like, how about we break away from convention? And then Pluto just went into Aquarius, also highlighting this part of your chart very strongly. One other thing that the eclipses, right? So right now we have Pisces Virgo activated, but come next February, we're going to have the first eclipse. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think it's February 23rd, maybe. No, but earlier in February. Maybe 15th, 16th. So I'm going to share this 1 second. Indeed, happy birthday to a fellow Virgo. A fellow Monday Virgo. My birthday is next Monday, so I feel the pain of having a Monday birthday. What are you doing for your birthday, Jess? Or Jessica? I don't know if you don't mind, Jess. Okay, so here's the eclipse. Here's the first eclipse in Aquarius that is happening very close to your midheaven next February, right? So are you gonna leave your hometown and go become a flight dispatcher? 100%. Is February significant for it? 200%. You're about to go on a journey, and I think it's a good choice. It's a good path because you just turned 28. The ruler is this powerful, strong Venus. So, I mean, she's conjoining Chiron, but it's out of sign. I wouldn't worry too much about that. And so I think she'll very much encourage you to go out there. Okay. Jess says, yeah, I noticed I'm going to be dealing with a lot of eclipses this year and next year, so a lot of change. Also, I'm not doing much for my birthday, only going out to eat. That is good. Going out to eating is good. Important. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing for my birthday. So I think that's my take on it. I hope it answers your question. Jess says, thanks for clarifying this for me. I was wondering if this was the flight path, the right path for me. I think it is. I think it definitely is. Is it your final path? We'll see. I think with your midheaven being in the ninth house, you might be someone who is a seeker and a questioner, and 10 years from now, you might decide to maybe teach people how to be flight dispatchers or something like that. Speaking of teaching, I am just going to mention this again. My course started on the 6th. We did the first lesson. If you want to join, you can still join and catch up by this Saturday. After that, I am closing it because I don't want people to miss too much. But I think one lesson is pretty reasonable to catch up via recording. So if there are people who want to study astrology, but you feel like you've missed it, you didn't, you can still join. Just check out my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Okay. So Brenda, thank you so much for your donation. Adding Brenda to my list. Just a second. And enjoy your birthday, Jessica. I hope it's a good one, and I hope it lays foundations to a fun new year with you creating the life of your dreams. Okay, so Brenda. Okay, I think I have an email from you, right? There you are. Okay, you're okay with not keeping it private. Hi, Brenda. Okay, Jess, you're welcome. And thank you for wishing all of us happy birthday. You're saying, I don't think it's my final path. I do want to become a librarian one day. Yeah, you might with that North Node Sun conjunction in the 4th house. I think ultimately there is a goal to connect with your community, right? So if that means being a librarian in your hometown and being this Beauty and the Beast. No, yeah, Beauty and the Beast. What's her name? Belle, I think, the one that was reading books all day and she wasn't particularly liked by her community. I think your path will be different, but sounds like a pretty sweet gig if you just read books and connect with people all day. So Brenda, I'm gonna put your information in. Your question was wanting to know my purpose and my career, money, and whether I'd have the universe on my side with winning a case. I think when you're saying nothing is kept private, it's like a commentary on just the world we live in, right? Nothing is ever private. Okay, putting your information in. And for people who are joining, if you'd like a reading, I ask for a donation. Once you send a donation, I will, once you send the donation, I will need your information. And you can either share it in the comments or you can email it to anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. And I will add you to my list and answer your question. When you are sending your information, if you want it to be private, do let me know and I will not share your chart. But if it's okay with you for it to be public, you can just share it in the comments or tell me that you are okay with it being public. Okay, so Brenda. Mm-hmm. So, Brenda, is this you? Cancer Sun, Capricorn Moon. What did we get here? Libra Rising. Cancer Sun, Capricorn Moon, Libra Rising. Libra Rising. Okay, awesome. So, again, the question is wanting to know my purpose in my career, finances, and whether I'd have the universe on my side with winning a case. Okay, so let's see your purpose with career and money. So your midheaven is in Cancer. It is, the sun is here. Your north node is in Libra in a square to the sun. So the nodes in a square to the sun often reads as karmic skipped steps. Like in the past lifetime, you were perhaps really focused on shining your light and becoming a leader and becoming known for things. But for some reason, it didn't quite work out. So there may be a sense that in this lifetime, you are working on fulfilling that and also on many levels, figuring out who you are because you're born with South Node in Aries. And so there may be this, your soul might be very good at taking charge and stepping into relationships and being like the warrior for people and the warrior in relationships, but also maybe like attracting relationships that are that like where you have to deal with a lot of like heavy karma or like heavy lessons, right? And so what you're stepping into with your north node in Libra, and there's also Chiron here, is like it's sort of feels to me like there's maybe an energy of like healing yourself through art and creativity and beauty and peace, and through also, and then later through that perhaps healing other people. Chiron in the first can sometimes create a sense of like feeling incomplete without a partner or really kind of craving relationships, and relationships are part of your karmic sort of path. So I think there's like an important, like being in relationships is important, and with Saturn in the 7th, it's also important to realize that your relationships are mirrors of what you're going through and how you're feeling, and people you attract are very much like, you know, they will reflect what you need to heal. So that's less about career, but I think being a healer is part of a career. Being a healer, being visible, maybe healing people with like, maybe healing children, maybe working with women, maybe working with families, like yeah, you have this strong Mercury in the house of education, and the ruler of the house of career is the moon in Capricorn. Do you meet a lot of sort of like, does your work present challenges sometimes? Are there maybe bosses who are like very harsh and cold and a little bit like your mother? I don't know. Okay, you're saying I did deal with heavy karma and lessons and just went through a karmic breakup in August this year, but as of now I'm focusing on myself in order to heal. Yeah, it's sort of like with your Venus and Mars both in the 9th house of education and ruling your nodes, like your nodal path leads you, I think, towards like learning and traveling and teaching and maybe guiding people, but doing so less of like fighting for things or finding yourself in like a dramatic situation, but more creating peace. Definitely challenges at work and bosses that make me seem like I'm never doing enough. So is there any similarity to like your upbringing or some people, some parents, parental figures? With moon, so the ruler of your house of career is the moon in its detriment. And that is not like, detriment sounds very dramatic, but like what it means is when the moon is placed in Capricorn, one grows up in an environment where there are a lot of heavy responsibility placed on them. They don't necessarily get to like be nurtured as some other person might be. There's a lot of weight that's placed on accomplishment and being sort of dutiful and responsible. And so you end up being this person who like takes on a lot. But like, there's also like this question of like what came first, the chicken or the egg, because the moon in Capricorn, people often want to be successful and want to be responsible and have this strong ambition. But learning to ask for help, that's for sure, I think. And again, like, you were born right around the full moon. So you're meant to have a full life full of experiences. And your sun and moon are both in a square to your nodes. So you want to make sure that you're not letting voices of other people, maybe even voices of your parents, because the moon represents the mother, the sun often represents the father, and your father, yeah, like career path that is similar to your father's path might be what you lean towards. But it's also about you finding your own like unique calling that is not necessarily reliant on other people. You're saying Capricorn moon. Yes, I have had heavy responsibilities growing up as the oldest sibling and raising my two siblings pretty much. Yeah, that's what it might feel like for sure. I would recommend, there's ways you can nurture your moon, and every Monday, which is the day of the moon, doing self-care rituals, like setting a specific time to take a bath, to drink some milk or some herbal tea, lighting a candle, maybe like, soothing yourself. I also have candles that I would recommend. I have exalted moon, and moon in Cancer actually would be really good for you, because moon in Cancer is the same as your sun, and that candle has like a very relaxing, chill energy. I always go for it. So that could be part of the Monday ritual for sure. But when you're saying I did want to be a teacher, maybe I should go towards that. I think that could be a good path, because being so like your career needs to have this element of like nurturing people and also potentially being in charge, being seen, being like maybe a caretaker, right? But like caretaker could involve a lot of different possibilities. You see people being librarians, caring for books, chefs, caring for people with food, teachers, absolutely, even like set designers, taking care of like actors through giving them the right props. So being a teacher works, and like doing work that serves like children, families, people. Yeah, like I think your job is connected to like either working with families, working like you're kind of meant to be at the foundation of someone's life, whether it's because you're like a social worker rescuing people going through a difficult time in their family, or it's because you're teaching young kids and you're helping lay foundations of who they are and making them good people. That is, yeah, that is kind of up to you, I guess. You're saying right now I'm going towards accounting, loving it so far. Okay. So if you're loving it, maybe that's the path. I think with your Gemini, stellium, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, you can be quite versatile too. You can be someone with like two careers, right? Or somebody who's like flexible, and Mercury in Gemini is really adaptable, um, really good at multitasking, really good at speaking multiple languages. Do you speak a bunch of languages? You do. Okay. Yeah, and so accounting can definitely be good, but I sort of feel like there should be something to you that is more like visible and more maybe nurturing or like more creative part to you. Do you feel that way? Do you think that you'd enjoy doing things like that? Just sort of because how visible will accounting let you be? And do you want to be visible too? Do you feel like you'd like a career that allows you to be in the spotlight a little bit? I may have asked you like 5 questions, so if you want to answer them one at a time. Okay, you're saying yes, I have. I'll definitely consider a more creative or nurturing path. There just needs to be a balance. Like I think there needs to be both this like kind of ability because you have a soul of like a warrior and someone who can problem solve and somebody who can take initiative and be responsible for other people, but like I think you need to find balance through like yeah, like I think I mentioned it already through like creativity, play. The ruler of your house of money is Mars, and it is in Gemini, and it is in the ninth house. So it's like making money through intellect, through for sure doing things that require flexibility of the mind. Mars in Gemini is also often the best salesperson, like really good at um, using the words and knowing what to say. Yeah, you have like Venus Mars together, which is also a sign of someone who's really charming, really good at getting people to support you, even potentially really good at attracting relationships. But sometimes Venus Mars doesn't necessarily like guarantee that you're gonna like deal with the right person all the time. But yeah, Mars ruling, I think that suggests that like your income sources may change. Your income sources may be requiring you to teach or use your mind or be in sales or be in education, travel, do work like that. Okay, you're saying I have been in sales for over 8 years. What have you been selling? Yeah, Mars and Gemini is considered to be like the best, I think, at like knowing what to how to speak, how to like tell people stories and like, use the words correctly or use the words in a very fun way. And that's also like Venus Mars conjunction. You've been in wireless cells for mobile. Okay. Where would you so as an accountant, where would you want to work? Would you like want to eventually have your own practice or you'd prefer to work for a big company? For anyone who's just joining, if you'd like to join my list to get a reading, I ask for a donation. Suggested amount is 25, but pay what you feel comfortable with. And in the pinned comment, once you do send the donation, either share it in the chat if you want it being public. If you want it to be private, email it to me at Anastasia.does.astrology at gmail.com. Okay. Okay, Brenda says, I would love to run my own business or a company also. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's no reason why you wouldn't. You just like there has to be it's good that you're focusing on yourself right now. It's good that you're like studying and learning and you're kind of I feel like that Gemini energy of like science and analytical mind and being good with numbers definitely shows up in accounting. Um, but yeah, like just make sure that you're not forgetting the creative side, also and looking for opportunities to be like visible, which owning your own business will definitely do that. You also asked about winning of a question, which will look at some other charts. So maybe save this for another time, or like if you wanted me to look at it more in depth, you can book a reading on astrology.com, because I just feel like it will like require pulling more charts and like taking more analysis than what I'm able to do right now. So I hope this was helpful in terms of the career path and the finances. And let me see. Okay, Francesca, I see an email from you. I don't know if you, I don't think I see the, okay. Thank you so much. I will, and thank you for the reading. You're welcome. And just, just sort of like a quick look in terms of like you and legal battles. I think you have a strong Mercury, which also rules the House of Legal Matters, which should be helpful for winning a case. But there's a lot going on with this also being your Saturn return, and North Node being in Pisces and South Node being in Virgo, encouraging us to maybe like let things go right now and not force things. So that's just like initial sort of feeling. But if you want it to be like a more precise reading, we'll have to probably do like a bigger reading at some point. Okay, so hi Auntie J. And people who are just joining, also let me know where you guys are watching from, where you're joining from. I am doing mini readings, basically ideally one question per reading. If you want me to look at your chart, ask for a donation. Suggested amount is $25, but you can pay what you feel comfortable with. And once you send a donation, I will need your birthday information, your question. And if you want it to be private, I will ask you to email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. And you can, but mind it being public, you can just share it in the chat. Yeah. So I think I also have a payment from Monica, but I don't know if she's here. She has been attending my previous lives, but I haven't seen her in the last couple, I think. Also, for anyone who has submitted a payment before, but I haven't gotten to you, you're on my list. So you can always just let me know that you've sent a payment and I haven't gotten to you. Auntie J watching from Canada. How are you guys also feeling with the eclipse? Are you feeling maybe more tired, more drained? I feel like people have been consistently sharing that they're feeling exhausted these days, which makes a lot of sense with the eclipse and also with Saturn returning into Pisces and sort of creating a switcheroo and making us deal with deep feelings. So my list is open right now. If we don't get anyone soon, I will wrap up. Just letting you guys know. So if people want a reading, do let me know soon. Otherwise we'll have a shorter live today, which is okay as well. I hope you guys are doing well. I used to do these lives every Monday, and then I went away for a little bit, and now I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Probably not going to do it again next week, but I might, continue doing them after that, and also try to stick to at least maybe once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, probably could be more reasonable. So last call for readings. If you guys would like a reading, I ask for a donation. And once you send a donation, suggested amount is $25, but pay what you feel comfortable with. I will pull up your chart and answer your question. Healing Energy says, I would like a reading. Awesome. Let me know once you send a donation. And if you want your information to be private, please email your date, time, and place of birth to Anastasia astrology at gmail.com. It feels like a little quieter today. Okay, I think I got it. Robert Johnson? Maybe I shouldn't. maybe I should ask you whether you want to share it. But I did get a donation, so I assume it's from you, Robert. And so if you want me to keep your information private, please email it to me at anastasia.astrology at gmail.com. And if you don't mind it being public, you can just put it in the comments and I will just take it from there. And thank you for the donation. Okay. Yeah, I did receive it. So now just need your, wait, did you send, is your information should also be there in PayPal? I don't see the date, time, and place of birth though. So I'll need your chart information and your question. And if you want me to keep it private, please email it to Anastasia astrology at gmail.com. But if you are okay with me sharing it, you can also put it in the chat. Okay. There may be a little bit of a delay with the chat or the live. So I'm going to hold on. So, okay, Robert, see your information. I also need the time. And Glasgow, is it Glasgow in Europe or is it Glasgow in the US? Because I think there's Glasgow, Kentucky, at least. There's like almost every single city in the States. March 21st, 74. Yeah, Robert, do you have the time? And if you can let me know where is Glasgow, that would be great. Because there's a bunch of them. There are a lot of them in the US, and then there's one in the UK. You're saying no, Glasgow? I do think there's a delay. Okay, 11:10 p.m. But which Scotland? Okay. Glasgow in Scotland. So I would assume it's gonna, in my app, it's probably gonna say United Kingdom, right? Lanarkshire. Lanarkshire. Sorry if I'm butchering it. And your question, Robert, and we should be all good to go. So please also double check that everything is correct. March 21st, 1974, Glasgow, UK, 11:10 p.m. I think looks good to me. Robert, I'm just waiting for a question from you. Unless you want like a more general, what do you see in my chart type of reading? But it will be helpful to have kind of a specific request if you have one. I don't think you send it. I don't think I see it. Robert, please send me your question. I hope you can hear me. I hope the delay is not too bad. Okay. Should I do music as a career? Arts? Music or arts? So, okay. You have your midheaven, which is the angle of career and angle of public life, visibility, reputation in Leo. And that often gives one a very bright and solar personality, especially when it comes to professional life. You're born with Scorpio on the ascendant, your chart ruler is Mars in the 8th. So, and your sun is in the 6th. So there's definitely a private element to you. You're also born on the waning moon, the balsamic lunar phase. So you can be both. I think you can be quite like energetic and outgoing, but you definitely need to retreat, maybe work out on your own, spend some time in solitude and like recharge through that. You're saying it's delaying. Yeah, I did realize that it's delaying because I think it's taking a long time for my question to get to you, but hopefully, we can catch up eventually, or you can also just always watch the replay as I'm answering your question, and hopefully it all makes sense. So, okay. So, like I said, there is both like extroverted, fiery, active part to you, but also private and need to take a nap, need to be alone, and kind of quiet part to your personality, more introverted, introspective. What is really powerful and creative in your chart is this Pisces stellium. You have Mercury in Pisces, which is what Kurt Cobain had. You have Jupiter, which is very empowered and spiritual and lucky in Pisces. Your moon is in Pisces. So that reads as very creative to me. And Mercury Jupiter together is very poetic, especially in Pisces too. It can suggest like expressing yourself in ways that touch people's hearts and stimulate their feelings. um you may have to deal with like certain, like Pisces sometimes can be quite content with letting things just go, with like just going with the flow. But I think having your sun ruling the midheaven be in Aries, like I think there's also this like brave, go into new territories, explore new paths energy to you. And so midheaven in Leo is often seen in the charts of artists and performers because it gives one a bright and solar and visible personality. I wonder if you're like, if you can be an artist, but it's like artist for children going through like chemotherapy, like artists for children going through difficult times, because there's like a big element to it with you being a Scorpio rising, being ruled by Mars in the 8th, of like dealing with death. So it's creative, but it's also when it comes to like healing and people's path. So it's not just more than um it feels bigger to me. And do let me know if this resonates. Hopefully we caught up, but if there's a delay, let me know later. For anyone who's watching and would like a reading, I ask for a donation in order to be on my list. So if you'd like a reading, there's a pinned comment with the links. There's also links in the description. And once you send a donation, suggested amount is 25, but you can pay however much you feel, however generous you feel. Uh, so that would be good. And then once you send a donation, you can send your information either in the chat or through email. If you want it to be private, you can also email me at anastasia.astrology@gmail.com. Monica, yes, you did. You are on my list. You're saying you I never got to it. Indeed. Yes, for sure. Let me know your question and remind me. It's okay, I think, with you for me to share your chart, right, Monica? I feel like we've done it before. Okay. Robert says I want to teach kids what I went through. Yeah, like there has to be, there's like a strong healer, share, light the path and in the darkness, help people transform energy to you. So I think absolutely. I think there is a major creative energy in your chart. And I think you should use it through something. Like this can also show up as like you just being a really creative parent and sort of inspiring your children with your art and with your music and creativity. But if that's what you want to do for a living, like as long as it serves purpose, as long as it like helps people, I think absolutely. Andrew, thank you so much for your generous donation. This is very kind of you. Okay, so I have Monica right now waiting for Monica's question. I think there's a bit of a delay. And then I will add Andrew to my list. Thank you, Andrew. And Andrew, I think I have an email from you. Hi, Courtney. Okay, Kayla is also being added to the list. I'm probably going to take a couple more people and then wrap up because I don't think I'm going to be live for 2 hours today. So if somebody else wants to join, do that soon. Otherwise, I will close the list. Because right now we have 3 people. We have Monica, Andrew, and Kayla. Okay, Monica, I had a question about love. I went on a couple of dates with 2 different guys that have potential. One is older and the other is younger. Is this the right time of year astrologically for me to date? Okay. So I already have your chart pulled up because I expected you. Okay, 1 second. So Monica, Andrew, and Kayla are people I have on my list presently. So pulling up Monica's chart with transits. And you're welcome, Robert. You're saying yes, help people. Thank you for sure. Yeah, because I think your courage, and you have both this like fiery spirit of Aries, Robert, and a sensitive Piscean heart. And so I think like you need to sort of light the path for people and be sensitive in the process. Okay. Monica says, I'm looking for the real deal. No more kissing frogs. I'm going to go back into your 7th house. And I wonder if you're in between November 7th and when does it leave? November 7th. And I think it's in April when it leaves. So Uranus might be, even though it has been shaking things up, when it finally comes back for like the very last bit into your 7th house, it can actually bring some reward, some sort of sudden positive development. Okay. When does it leave for good? Uranus. Maybe it's February. So much is happening in February next year. Yeah, April. April 25th. So from November 7th until April 25th, Uranus is going to be back in your 7th house. And people might say that maybe you shouldn't date during that time, but I don't think so. I think Uranus can be like, you've gone through all these fun dating experiences in the last 7 years. Here is your prize. So I do like that Venus is in Leo right now and your Mars is in Leo. So Venus rules your house of relationships and it's going to conjoin your Mars around September 16th, 17th, 18th. So that could be a pretty good time for dating. So now can be quite a decent time because Venus, the ruler of the house of relationships, is about to conjoin Mars, the ruler of your chart. And we've done this before, but you are 45. 45 activates your 10th house of career. So it activates your Mars and your Sun in the house of relationships. So for sure. And then there's also eclipses happening in the 5th house of romance, pleasure, joy. I think this eclipse we just had could also be quite romantic and suggestive of, it was a lunar eclipse, right? So it's about completion. So maybe it's about like closing old chapters and maybe completing in a sense that you're getting clear on who you're looking for and what you're going for. So you're saying Uranus caused havoc on my love life the past few years. Right now could be a good time. Generally your Venus is in charge. Uranus will continue shaking things up even when it leaves your 7th house because your Venus is in Gemini, but not for a few years. And hopefully that just means that people will suddenly become really generous with you and start giving you their money. By the way, Monica, did you decide not take my course? I haven't seen you in the list of people who signed up. Did the schedule not work out? You can still sign up until September 13th. I extended the enrollment because people who missed one class can catch up through watching the recording. Okay, you're saying I saw both of them on the eclipse, one for lunch and the other after dinner. It could be a really romantic time right now, for sure, with like Mars-Venus sextile on the 15th, with Venus conjunct your Mars on the 18th, 19th. You're saying I can't this time around, unfortunately, but if you ever offer a summer course, I could take it then. Maybe. Who knows? Yeah, I think I like this period right now, Monica, for dating. I think you should, but maybe beware or be open to something fun when Uranus returns into your 7th house. Because I feel like after the last 7 years of Uranus in your 7th, you probably have learned a lot of lessons. So it's either going to be shaky again, but for the very last time, or it will be a reward that maybe is sort of, hooray, you've learned your lesson. But generally, it is a good time for dating. Okay. I hope this answers the question, and thank you for being patient with me while I was away and couldn't get to your question. And I look forward to seeing you in class one day, Monica. Okay, Andrew. So, Andrew, are you here? Monica says, yes, lots of lessons learned for sure. That's Uranus for you. Okay, Andrew. Okay. Monica says, yeah, I wasn't sure if it was the right time since Uranus was returning. It is returning, but it's like, it's already out of the I mean, it's gonna square your Mars, right? So it is gonna make like a little bit more of a shaky. There's gonna be a little bit more of shaking things up. But Mars rules you and it rules your house of work. So it's not necessarily going to be relationship shakeups. Uranus can also bring sudden developments. It can bring like suddenly you met someone and it just like jumps and develops really fast, I think. Okay, Andrew. Andrew says here, did you Andrew, did it matter to you whether your information private or not? Do you want it to be private? You can just put it in the chat and I'll see. It is easier for me to share it because then I can show you what I'm doing. But I can also keep it private perfectly easily if you want to keep it private. Oh, happy birthday. Look at that. The second Virgo of September 8th. And I just told people but I didn't tell them everything. So I can still keep your information private. But yeah, happy birthday. And thank you again for the generous donation. Let this be the start of the year where the generosity finds you as well from other people. I can actually, I can share your chart with sort of private, but I can do the transits with it private. Okay, you're saying it's okay to share. So before I share, let me just see if I need to pull anything else. You're saying I've been in a career and personal life rut for 3 years, having moved from California to Rhode Island. I've been burned out working in insurance as a data analyst, and I'm currently trying to apply for similar jobs at other companies' departments. I'd like to know whether a career change to something better is on the horizon for me. On the relationship front, I've been pretty lonely since my move to the East Coast. When did you move? Oh, 3 years ago. I haven't made many friends locally, haven't been in a serious relationship, but have been starting to be more intentional about searching for connections, or potential improvements on that front in my life. Okay, so I'm going to pull a couple of charts. I'm going to look at your relocated chart for Rhode Island just because I'm curious. For anyone who's watching, if you ever want me to do a locational reading for you to see whether the place you live in is good for you or where you should move, you can book an express reading and specify that you'd like a locational astrology reading or a natal chart reading and specify that as well. Is Rhode Island New York or Rhode Island State? Where in Rhode Island are you? Because there's also Rhode Island as like a city in New York and in Texas. Rhode Island State, Providence. Okay, thank you. Apparently there is a Rhode Island State and Rhode Island City. Who knew? Probably a lot of people, but not me. Rhode Island, Providence. Okay. So gonna look at that for a second. And I'm also gonna pull up your transits to just look at what's coming up. And if you, Andrew, if you wanted to get a solar return reading, I would recommend, booking that on my website after we do this if you feel like you want more answers. Oh, okay. You're saying never knew. Okay. So let's take a look. So is this correct for you? We have Virgo Sun, Pisces Moon, Libra Rising. Okay, it is correct. So when you move to Providence, Rhode Island, you have become a Scorpio rising, which is your natal second house, but it is a bit more complicated, right? Like, well, Scorpio rising, you have Mars in Scorpio, you have a really strong Mars. But okay. So you're born with Libra on the ascendant. When you move time zones, your chart shifts. Your natal chart is still always really important, but you relocate and your chart relocates with you, because when you were born in LA, it was 1 hour and one sign was on the horizon, but in Rhode Island on the East Coast, it was different, right? So you become Scorpio rising, which changes the vibes. It makes you in Rhode Island a lot more suspicious, a lot more maybe sensitive emotionally, maybe a little bit more obsessive and sort of intense and like probing and maybe self-protective. what changes here too in Rhode Island is the ruler of your house of relationships is now Venus in Virgo. And Venus is in her fall in Virgo, which generally suggests, and you also have Venus Saturn opposition, which is a tricky one. It's trickier for women, but it can show up like in a man's chart. It can show up through dating women that have a lot of sort of hangups, or maybe they have a lot of insecurities, or they're very critical of themselves. And there may be some like sort of obstacles to connection. Sometimes Venus opposite Saturn might also suggest that like you grew up in a household where like affection wasn't expressed easily. There was some kind of conditional affection. So there's some generally some sort of lessons involving relationships and like, learning to kind of redefine what love is, learning to express affection in an open way. But Venus being in her fall now in Rhode Island rules your house of relationships. So it's not necessarily the best place for relationships for you. Would you say that your love life was better in California? So, okay, but you're saying you also don't like the career and relationship hasn't been super great. Okay. Are you liking it? Okay, you're saying haven't dated in California, but friends came more naturally. Are you liking it on the East Coast generally? Professionally, you also have, you're not liking it very much. Okay. It looks like financially it could be a good place for you though. Did you make maybe more money on the East Coast? So professionally, your house of career is now Leo, which is your natal 11th house. You also have Sun. Yeah, the ruler of the house of friendships in Rhode Island is Mercury in the 12th, which can represent some losses connected to friendships. It changes a lot of things when you relocate versus like in California. And I'm not saying you should just move to California. I think like probably the key to it is like being more aware. Seasons is a nice experience though. Yeah, I can imagine. I feel like it would be difficult to get used to. um you're saying interesting, never thought relocation would change things so much. It really does. It does change things quite significantly. Um, yeah, generally you have your chart ruler is Venus and Virgo. So in California, this energy of like perfectionism, criticism applies maybe more to you, and there is but I think it's always like something to be aware of. I'm a Libra rising with Venus and Virgo. But what I like though, you have this nice mutual reception between Venus, the planet of love, being ruled by Mercury, and Mercury being ruled by Venus. And the two are in antisha to each other, or contra antisha. I always forget the difference between the two, or like I flip them. So there is this sense that the older you get, the more self-aware you become and the stronger your relationships become. There is definitely like kind of side by side, you have the planet of the mind and the planet of love, and they have like um radio, or like, when you put a cup to the wall, like they can talk to each other and they can learn from each other. Like through your mind you can analyze your relationships and make better choices. So yes, I do think some of the frustration might be connected to the move. Another piece of the puzzle is you going through your Saturn return, and your Saturn return about to be done, which can also be significant both for career and for maybe the sense of like being burnt out and being isolated. Saturn return would have began in March 2023, which is about 3 years ago, right? Um, Saturn return is the moment of growth and maturity, and it brings a lot of, it can bring a lot of these like serious questions and growing up moments and opportunities, and maybe, yeah, maybe like a sense of just too much work, being burdened with things, like handling too much and having to learn how to set boundaries and having to learn when to say no. The eclipses are also very much activating that for you. The good news is, especially when it comes to career, you do have Jupiter in your corner this year from June 9th. It's going to become even more friendly when Mars leaves Libra on September 22nd. So on September 22nd, Mars is going to go into Scorpio. And at first, it's going to square Pluto. So the end of September is irritating with the difficult eclipse and with Mars squaring Pluto. But then later in October, we have Mars being in the same sign as your natal Mars, moving freely, more clarity about what decisions you want to make, more agency, more agenda, maybe more opportunities to date or put yourself out there and make connections. Jupiter will be no longer squaring Mars and will be sort of free to bring professional developments. It's also going to trine your Saturn in a little bit. So I think professionally, now is a good time to figure out what you're trying to accomplish and kind of, and go for it. I'll tell you some positive dates when it comes to that. So Jupiter trines your Saturn on September 25th, and then again on December 28th, and then again on May 19th, 2026. It also will sextile your Venus, which is your chart ruler, which generally should bring maybe romantic developments or increase in confidence, health, sense of self on January 6th and May 11th. And it's going to sextile your Sun on February 23rd and March 26th. So there's some positive developments. And I think romantically, you're probably going to start dating more when Saturn returns into Aries. So Saturn would have been in Aries this year from May 24th until September 1st. I know I'm just sort of saying a lot of things. You were saying, yeah, exactly. I suspect a Saturn return may play a part in this. It does. It does create a lot more like heaviness, I think. But you said you were starting to kind of make connections and date again. Have you noticed that happening between May 24th and September 1st? Because Saturn returns here in February 2026, and for the next 2 years, it's going to be in your house of relationships. So it's potentially going to encourage you to get even more serious about dating and more like focused on it. I'm going to close the list for now. I got another payment from Robert. So Robert, do you have another question? Is that what's happening, Robert? But let me just say that the list is closed for now. I'm still going to get through everybody who is on my list. So no need to worry. But yeah, Andrew, do let me know whether Saturn being in Aries between May 24th and September 1st inspired you to date more. So, okay. So to sum up, you are finishing your Saturn return, and the feeling of being like overloaded can be increased right now, especially during the eclipses. Saturn might encourage you to say goodbye to something and maybe quit a job. Very tiring and exhausting, and maybe even rethink self-critical tendencies. The eclipses can be revealing. I think my connection got interrupted for a second, but I was saying that the eclipses can be extra stressful and can reveal what needs to be released and what needs to be kind of closed off and laid to rest. Saturn going into your 7th house again from February 8th could be a very like serious time to date. may be the period when you first will have to kiss a bunch of frogs and say no to people before you meet the person that is long-term potential. And professionally, there's definitely a lot of opportunities. I think if you say no to something and you open space for a better long, that would be what I would recommend. And then next year, also from June 30th until July 2027, Jupiter will be in your house of friendships, networks, and relationships, social relationships. So I think that will be the time when your social circle will improve and you will attract different, better, more loyal sort of relationships. So don't get discouraged. It will get better. Okay, I hope this was helpful. So the list is officially closed. I do see a payment from Miss Milano. So I will get through everyone who sent me payments, but please don't send them anymore. I mean, I appreciate you guys doing it, but I am going to wrap up soon and I don't want to take people that I cannot get to. Anyone who wants to study astrology, you can still jump on board of my course until Saturday. The class started on the 6th, but you can catch up by watching the recording. So if you want to do that, visit my website and join. But okay, Andrew, you're welcome. Again, if you wanted to get a solar return, if you wanted more insight on the year to come, visit my website. It could be a good time for that. Okay, so next I have Kayla. I have your information. Kayla, do you want your information private or is it okay to share? I'm just gonna pull up your chart in the meantime. Okay, you're saying it's okay to share. Thank you. Are you currently in South Africa or you're somewhere closer to us? And what time is it in South Africa if you're there? Also, Andrew, if you're still watching for Venus, I highly recommend my Venus in Libra candle. I use those all the time. And also, if you were to book a reading, we can discuss remediation methods to work with relationships, relationship karma. Okay, thank you for the email. JMS asking if you can have a reading. My list is closed for today, unfortunately, but you can have it next time I go live, which will probably be 2 weeks from now because next Monday is my birthday and I'm probably not going to do a live because it's going to be my birthday. And I do love you guys, but it's my birthday next week. So gotta chill. Okay, Kayla says I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida. Okay, cool. So you said it's okay to share. So let me share. Okay, share. So do let me know if this is okay. No, MS, Miss Milano, I did add you to my list, but you are our closing act. So even though I think you send the payment just as you're still in the list, but everyone else will have to wait for the next opportunity. Okay, Kayla, Leo Sun, Taurus Moon, Aquarius Rising. Is this accurate for you? question is about career, karmic purpose. What do you see for me? I currently work at a courthouse in the civil division. Thank you for the early happy birthday. Still a week to go, but yes, I'm excited. In the middle of the eclipse season, but I am entering a Jupiter ruled year, and having Jupiter in Cancer is super exciting. For the next after that, for 2 years, I'm going to have Saturn in Aries as my time lord, so that's a little bit more nerve-wracking, but for now I'll take Jupiter very happily. Okay, so this is correct for you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the early happy. Career, karmic purpose, currently work at a courthouse in the civil division. So you're born with midheaven in the 9th house, and it's conjunct Chiron, and it is midheaven in the 9th ties your career. First of all, it suggests that you're not necessarily meant to have one career. You may be someone who is meant to explore, try on different hats, and like learn a lot of different things, right? 9th house is always connected to education, travel, writing, publishing, philosophy, and belief. So, a high priestess house being connected to legal will suggest okay, I got another message saying that my connection broke for a second. So I was saying with midheaven in the 9th, being a teacher, being a lawyer, being a priest, being a judge, being somebody who gives people visas, being somebody who but there's Chiron here, right? And like Chiron can sometimes create like strong healer energy, suggest that you're maybe looking to other people for wisdom and not always seeing your own wisdom. And so Chiron can be a sign of someone who's like meant to learn and see, like with Mars too. Mars and Libra, not the most traditional fighter, but it's still fighter. It's going to fight for peace. It's going to fight for justice. It's going to fight for fairness. The ruler of your 9th house and midheaven is Venus in the 8th, which also suggests that like you have Venus in the 8th, you have North Node in the 8th. Like you're in this lifetime to learn to have like emotional stability and to learn to work on with your Pisces South Node. There's potentially a sense of like you can always figure out financial stability for yourself. You can always make ends meet. You have Jupiter in the 1st house. That's quite lucky and nice to have. So you can be a lucky person. There may be like sort of protective blessings of Jupiter, probably optimism, probably also like Jupiter and Uranus together in your 1st house is a sign of like you being a very generous someone who gives and teaches and guides. So there's kind of energy of like being a teacher, a guide, a guru to people. I think in order to do that, you may first have to like face your own fears on some level. Because North Node in the 8th, Venus and Mercury in the 8th might suggest that like the karmic purpose that's connected with facing shadows and with building emotional stability and almost like becoming a therapist, maybe. I feel like I'm throwing a bunch of things. Okay, you're saying makes sense. My bachelor's degree was in political science and social justice and peace. My favorite course was political theory. My friend who's a medium told me that she saw me working in immigration one day. So it's crazy that you said I might give people visas. For sure. Yeah. And that would also be like deal maybe with people who are like in some kind of like border state, right? Because the ruler of the midheaven being Venus in the 8th it's like so much of your chart is tangled up in like working with people who are maybe somehow struggling, maybe somehow like in the dark, right? Like eighth house is other people's resources, people applying for asylum or people applying for mortgage advisor, right? Or people like, so a lot of it I think will be connected to like you finding um like I feel like a lot of it is also comes like to you finding your own voice and your own wisdom and like learning to trust yourself that you have what it takes. And then through you discovering that, you will guide other people to do that. You're saying, I feel passionate about advocating for minority groups and fighting for fairness. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what Mars and Libra at its best, right? Mars and Libra at its worst can create drama and instigate conflict where there isn't one. Like I've seen Mars and Libra people do that without like being aware what they're doing a lot of times, like just sort of being like, what do you mean I'm stirring drama? I'm operating out of your best interest. So that's like the shadow side of Mars and Libra. But on the positive, it could be like, let's talk about this uncomfortable issue. Let's find peace. It's like a fight, like you still need to fight. And so in your chart, it's like really close to your career and it's really close to Chiron. So it's kind of also like it's about learning to give your own anger voice, and like maybe you weren't able to be angry when you were young. You were not allowed to be like you were not allowed to upset people, or there's like some kind of Mars in Libra, just keep things chill and calm and beautiful. um but yeah, I feel like learning to like speak up and express your frustration and finding people who also maybe need you to help them do that. And of course, Pluto being in Aquarius right now in the next couple of years also is here to like revolutionize who you are and turn you into an angel of change, a dark angel of change, right? Someone who like brings everything that is dark and unfair and unjust, and like someone who gives voice to society and issues like that are sort of important. You're saying I was never able to fight back, upset people, be sad, etc. When I was younger, I always had to be the nice person who did whatever people wanted. Yeah, so this is where you are learning to, and you don't need to, I feel like it's hard. Like I have Mars in the 12th house. I feel like I'm not afraid to fight in my relationship, but otherwise like fighting makes me so uncomfortable. And so like with Mars and Libra there might be a similar energy, but I think if you're like fighting for things that are important and you're focusing on like the world at large, there's maybe more ease to advocating for things. And through it, you can also potentially learn to advocate for yourself. There's also ways to remediate Mars and to work on it, right? I have Mars candles. For you, I'd probably go with Mars Kazemi. But every Tuesday is the day of Mars. So doing like martial arts on that day, working with metals, being like working as a smith with metals could be great. And Kayla, if you want to study astrology, my course just started. You can still join us, just FYI. Amanda, September 19th is my birthday. Happy early birthday. So many Virgos. But yeah, I hope this helps, Kayla. I feel like there was a lot, but hopefully it answers your question. And let's see. So Amanda, happy early birthday. My list is closed. I'm not taking any more questions. But I in a couple of weeks again. So if you wanted to save your question for later, and we can take a look at that for sure later on. Okay, so let's see. I got donations from Robert, a second donation, which maybe I'm not sure if Robert is around. Was it just a big thank you for my reading? Which could be. People do that sometimes. Or I'm not sure if Robert had another question, or maybe it's just, did I even get? I do. Yeah, I think there was two. Okay, Robert, if you send me a second donation just because you loved my reading, thank you very much. And if you have a question, do pop up and let me know. Otherwise, we have Miss Milado. Let me see. I have an email from you. Do you want your information private or is it okay to share? And also, happy belated birthday. More Virgos. More Virgos. I also feel like we have a lot of 97, 98 people today. Okay, you're saying it's okay to share. Is it okay for me to keep calling you Miss Milado, or do you prefer Kaya? I just sort of got into the groove. Just tell me which one you prefer so I know. Miss Milado. Okay. It sort of sounds like a delicious dessert. Miss Milado. Marmelado. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Okay. So your question is transits. What's currently happening? Money, love, transits. Okay. You're private. I get it. So is this correct for you, Virgo Sun, Scorpio Moon, Capricorn Rising? Alice, I haven't been doing a ton of lives, or I have been doing them while you were asleep because I was on European terms while I was in France for 3 weeks. But it's good to see you. Miss Milados, I use equal house. I work in whole sign, so it probably looks slightly different. But is this correct in terms of Sun, Moon, Rising? Virgo, Sun, Scorpio, Moon, Capricorn, Rising? Oh, so in equal, you have your Venus, Mercury, and the Sun in the 8th. I mean, if you want, I can look at your chart in equal houses, but like I work in whole sign, so I feel like I'm the most comfortable in whole sign. To the same, I feel like we can get to like similar questions through it as well. Whichever is best for you. Okay, thank you. So your question is, what is happening right now? So you are a Capricorn rising and your Saturn is in Taurus. So Saturn being your chart ruler has been entering Aries between May 24th and September 1st, maybe bringing up some heavy karma and duties and obligations in the home, potentially some maybe more pressure and some serious questions in the lives of parents, or a sense of like people going through a difficult time. Neptune is still here right now, so there may be some kind of like a need to set boundaries with the family, a need to watch out for confusion and a tendency to self-sacrifice, or people expecting things from you that feel difficult and overwhelming. Saturn did just return into Pisces for the final 5 months. It's going to be here until February 13th. Let's see. I don't think it's going to conjoin your Jupiter because I think it's done with your Jupiter, but maybe not. No, it's not done with your Jupiter. Okay. So it's going to conjoin your Jupiter in November and then December. And previously did that. Let's actually just a second. So it conjoined your Jupiter on April 8th previously. So look at like March, April, which is interestingly enough also the last time we had an eclipse in Virgo, and there was an eclipse in Aries. But so Saturn coming back into your third house might suggest that there is some education, writing, communication project that you're wrapping up. There's maybe some questions around like learning, even thinking patterns, like having to get more serious about things and maybe less serious about other things. Jupiter rules your 12th house and it rules your third house. So Saturn conjoining Jupiter can also bring up maybe some questions involving siblings. There may be something more heavy in the life of the sibling or some type of relationship question that involves sibling, like a need to address some kind of disagreement or tension that involves a sibling, even a sibling going through a more difficult time. Maybe something happened in March with your sibling and you like needed to help out. We have South Node eclipse in Virgo on September 21st. North Node is in Pisces. You're going through your nodal reversal, which often happens as you get close to your Saturn return, which you're still 2.5 years away, but it's coming. It's you can start to see it on the horizon in the distance. But generally, with your North Node in Virgo, you're kind of encouraged to go maybe more towards academia and travel and venture in the outside world and maybe deal with some legal matters or write big novels and things like that. But right now, with North Node in Pisces, there's actually a suggestion that it's more important to get in touch with people around you. So again, siblings, neighbors, community, find yourself, find your voice, maybe explore your skills and passions and interests. So South Node might encourage you to kind of like write and be creative and be more like present, more embodied and connected with your like skills. So that's, I think, interesting for the eclipse. The South Node eclipse on the 21st in the 9th house can also be about like setting some things go, like letting go of perfectionism, even letting go of some education, again, if you're graduating, or letting go of some like workaholic tendencies, perfectionism, maybe a need to control certain things, and just kind of releasing control and opening yourself up to new possibilities. Let's see. Pluto is in your second house of money, so you did mention that you were interested in finances. To me, that is suggestive of possible transformations professionally. It's interesting on September 24th, 4 days before, 4 days after, we're going to have Mars enter your 11th house and square Pluto in the second. And there may be some friction with friends, or there may be some tension between what you want to do professionally and what you currently have resources for, or maybe even friction between what you want to go for and like fears and your own, like Pluto in the second house by transit can reveal like certain insecurities when it comes to money, certain tendency maybe to hold on to things and not take risks. And so I wonder if Mars entering Scorpio will suggest that you're going to be invited to like explore professional opportunities and maybe like professional change. And in the long run, Pluto in the second house can also suggest like multiple changes of careers and multiple transformations of where your money is coming from. And of course, Jupiter in the 7th is a sign of good luck for the next like 9 months or so when it comes to relationships, partnerships, contracts, and agreements. And it's currently trining your moon. which should be supportive for emotional health, and the moon rules your house of relationships. So I think this is suggestive of like to attract the person that will be nurturing and loving. If you're in a relationship, your partner's life might improve and benefit you both. It's also beneficial for any kind of contracts, any kinds of partnerships with people that you encounter on your path. So this is what I'm seeing presently. I hope this provides some insight, and I hope it resonates. I hope you're looking forward to some of the goodness that Jupiter is going to bring, and maybe professional transformations that Pluto indicates. Awakening. Thank you. You're welcome. It's good that you're done with Pluto in your first house. I'm sure that feels like a relief. Since 2008, it's been shaking up all of the Capricorn risings and Cancer risings in the process as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys, for your generous donations. And I appreciate your participation as well. Bernard, I see your question, but I am done with readings for today. So if you'd like me to answer your question, just keep an eye out. I try these lives every Monday, not next Monday because it's my birthday next Monday, but in 2 weeks from now, if you want a reading, you have a question, just save it for later and I will try to get to you. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day and happy eclipse season. Be kind to yourself and people you love, and I will see you all very soon. Bye. Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying love your channel, always keeping up. I appreciate it. Yeah, I tried really hard to create a lot of good content for you guys, so I appreciate kind words. Okay, bye.